Jim Quick suggests that you read in 25-minute chunks because if you read much longer than that, you won't take time to process the information. So for today's episode, we are going to enlighten you with nuggets, insights from the best of the Commerce and Chill library. Because as a small business owner, you may read a lot of books, and it's not just about reading the books, it's about applying it. And so we're going to share some tips. Well, I'll share the tips real quick about what you can do, because you mentioned maybe not having enough time. But here's 3 quick tips of what you can do to make the most of reading a book and applying it to make your business successful. Number 1, set aside at least 15 minutes a day to read, whether it's when you first wake up or right before you go to bed. If you start at 15 minutes, what you will find is that you will make that time, make it a habit, and you'll start to increase the amount of time that you set aside for reading.
Like brushing your teeth.
Yeah. So for example, if you have a commute, if you're not the one driving, like say you take a bus or a train or commuter rail, you can read, right? Or if you're
the driver, like me.
If you're a driver like Waleed Cope, you can listen to the audiobooks.
Boom.
Right? And so start at 15 minutes a day and see how much you can increase over time. Number 2, if you are like 80% of readers who never finish a book.
Shame on you.
Most readers pick up books. They start and they don't stop. Read until you find a point that gets your attention. Then stop. Write it down and spend at least 15 minutes thinking about how you will apply that to your personal life or to your business. So when I read Ursula Burns, Where You Are Is Not Where You
Who you've met.
Oh my gosh, she's my Shiro. But when she
went to her office and hung out.
She was so nice.
Gangster.
She is so nice. She's still nice. So when I get to the part of the book, and I'm not going to spoil it for you, but when she talks about going to meetings with the president and some of the action steps that she takes, that she took, then I stop. Well, you can't see her. I've lost it. And Colt doesn't like this. Colt doesn't like this.
Yeah, like I'm a purist when it comes to books.
Yeah, pristine.
I'll put a Post-it note, and if I do, I'll use a pencil, make a mark in a book. So
no. I need stuff to jump out at me. So if I find something that catches my attention, I'll note it in the book, and then I'll get a piece of paper and write it down, and then think about what does that mean? How do I apply that personally?
Is that a soapbox ticket right here?
That's a soapbox receipt.
Representing the brand.
There you go.
Soapbox NYC.
And then
that's a bookmark. So
make daily time for reading. Apply at least one thing from what you read, because the likelihood that you're going to finish the book sometimes is not that great. And then number 3. Oh, snap. Just that quickly. I forgot.
Yeah, I'm looking at where you're reading from.
I'm coming off the dome.
They're not in my notes. I'm like, where's she getting these 3 tips from? But I'm supporting. So number 3. Number 3.
According to Jim Quick,
number 3,
who's one of the authors that we're going to discuss in today's.
She's making this one up.
No, that we're. Geez, Louise, you're gonna make me forget.
Come on, Jim Quick, spit it out. Hurry up before you forget. You know how you forget stuff all the time when you're talking to me. Spit it out. Go.
Oh snap! I forgot. We're gonna have to come back to item number 3. So, Chief, tell me why is it?
Episode is over. We're supposed to be 3 tips.
Why are reading business books important to entrepreneurs trying to grow their businesses?
First of all, I don't think it's just important to read business books. Let me be clear. You should be reading a variety of books. You're in business. Yeah, there's some books you want to read because you want to like marketing. You want to improve management and blah, blah. But you should be reading things from all different genres. I just happen to be. I like to focus on the business, but then I like to focus on some of the other stuff like. The Psychology of Money is a book that I listened to not too long ago. I think you should. It's very interesting points and case studies that they talk about, because they talk about actual people and how they interacted with the money they had, money they lost. They had nothing, built a business and made buku money and then blew it all away. So they talk about the different aspects of it. So I think it's super important that you read. Like I'm I'm always blown away. What's that saying there? Like, you can not judge someone, but there's this thing about poor people have big TVs and rich people have big libraries or something like that.
Right.
And what's crazy is when I go into people's houses, homes, not houses, when I go into people's homes and like people I know or people I kind of know, so I kind of have an idea of what their income level is to a certain degree.
You think?
I said to a certain degree. That box, I'm always looking because I'm always interested, and I always see that box get checked where I go into someone's home who like is in business, who's crushing, or that has some killer, like they're a partner at some gangster firm or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm just like, books on top of books. And I'll see like maybe one TV and it's like on the news, if it's even on, or the TV is not in plain sight. The TV is like a retractable one, or it's like, when the projection screens, and it's just like, it's out of sight. It's not the focal point in like their family room or like the living room. If you notice in a lot of people's homes, the TV is the focal point in that room. Like the furniture all faces the TV. Like it's kind of deep when you think about it. Psychologically, like this device becomes the center of this area of your house to consume your attention, to have you always focused on it. And then I go to, other individuals' homes, and they're in a different income level, and like their TVs are like massive, like the size,
like the whole room, the largest wall in the room,
like in the whole space. And relatives too.
Yeah,
like I have relatives too. Like I go to their homes, and like I know how much money they make, and I'm just like, that has got to be the biggest TV I've ever seen in my entire life. And it's just, I find it, and like I look at them, like they have very little books in their homes. So I find it very, it's sad, but it's very interesting. It's telling. I mean, it's sad though, because I'm like, it's a book. Like you can go to the library and get it for free. You could even download the Overdrive app and listen to it for free. You don't even have to buy it.
So if they use a Kindle, you're not going to see them rocking lots of books.
Listen, I'm willing. I don't know if anybody's done a study, but I'm willing to bet, even if someone uses a Kindle, they still got a fair amount of either hardcovered or paperback books in their house. Like I just don't see someone kindling it up 100% on their book reading. Right, on their book reading. I'm willing to bet they've got some printed books in their home somewhere, and those books are probably outbeat the TV. So I think that's like, it's something that I would love to see more data on, just to kind of understand like what's the correlation, because it's a deeper thing. But yeah, read more.
Well, thank you.
Listen more.
Thank you for breaking that down, because while you were talking, I remember the third point.
Tip number 3.
Jim Quick suggests that you read in 25-minute chunks, because if you read much longer than that, you won't take time to process the information. So read 25 minutes, stop, think about it, read 25 minutes again. And I've been practicing that since I started listening to his book, Limitless. And I see some improvement.
Does he say anything about reading multiple books at the same time? Because I see you doing that.
No, I haven't gotten to that part in the book as of yet. But some days I like to say, for example, if I'm flying, I might pack 2 or 3 books. I might want to read one book while I'm on the plane. I might want to read a different book. You do it in the car.
In the morning, you read one book. Coming home, if it's not too late, and you read another book. And I'm just like, did you finish the other book already? And you're like, nope, I'm reading another book.
No, but like,
I'm just like, how do you process that?
Like there's some books I prefer to read in certain spots of the house. So there's some books I'll read in a big chair, and other books I'll read at the desk. I mean, it's very spatial for me.
Got it. If it works, listen, just keep reading. That's all I ask. Just keep reading.
So if you've been to Commerce and Chill Land before,
here comes the blue screen.
That I love words. And so for today's episode, we looked at the word library, not to be confused with library, because they're not spelled the same, they're not pronounced the same, they don't mean the same thing. But according to Webster's, a library is a place in which literary, musical, artistic, or reference materials such as books, manuscripts, recordings, or films are kept for use but not for sale. A collection of such materials, a library of jazz recordings, a collection resembling or suggesting a library, such as an illustration of libraries. Now, in terms of the etymology of the word, if we go back, it comes from the Latin word liber, Liber, which was originally the inner bark of trees. So, since many books are printed on paper, it makes sense that the word is drawn from the root, which means the type of media on which the book is printed. A leaf, a rind, a strip to peel. So that's the word library. Let's jump into the nuggets. So what are some of the books that you're currently reading, Chief, or have read recently?
Well, currently I'm not reading. I'm listening. I'm straight audio booking it. But I'm going to try something new, especially when we head to this conference. I'm going to read and listen to a book at the same time because I think that I can absorb it twice. Like, I'm not like, this is no BS. Like, I'll read a book, I'll listen to it, and I'll remember like bits and pieces. But over time, I'll be like, oh, I know I read this book, but I'll be like,
I forgot. What was that?
I don't really I don't pull anything out. So I don't know if it's something with me. Like, I read it, and then stuff I take away from it, I implement it and start doing it. And then something happens with my hard drive. I don't know. I'm just like, okay, file that away. It gets deleted. I have no idea. But yeah, I'm going to be trying this new thing where I'm going to be listening and reading along to the book at the same time. And I think that'll be awesome. But your question is, what books am I listening to now? So if I jump into my audio book app here, I just finished No BS Marketing to the Affluent by Dan Kennedy.
Mm-hmm.
And currently I'm listening to 100 Million Offers. How to make offers so good. Yeah, how to make offers so good people feel stupid saying no.
Stupid.
By Alex. I'm going to mess his last name up. Hormozy. Sorry, Alex.
We go way back.
Yeah, but the book it's like, it's gangster.
So, we don't have a lot of time and we can't break down all of these books in their entirities. What are 2 takeaways that you've gotten from each of those books, or if there's at least one takeaway?
The reason I've read both of them because there's some common threads between the 2 books, and one book mentions the other book, which was super interesting. But the book I ended up listening to second mentioned the other book. It wasn't vice versa, which is very interesting. But I was reading some other material that referenced the second book and linked them all 3 together. Linked those 2 together along with the material that I was reading. So if I had to take, first of all, there's 2 takeaways I'd probably take away from it. One, if in business, you should understand and look up the law of contrast and how that applies to how you're pricing your products or service. I would highly encourage you to look at that. The other thing is to look at who your customer base is and break them down and look at them from the 80-20 rule. Where's the majority of your revenue coming from all of your clients? The other thing I would look at too is once you break those down, I would look at the locations like zip codes, neighborhoods that your top 20% clients live in. And then look at what they're doing, what they're using with your services or your product, and then figure out how do you market to more of them in the areas that those current clients you have live in. And the other piece is creating these irresistible offers. As the title of the book says, make an offer so good people feel stupid saying no. And I'm not saying just come up with some craziness as like, oh, if you buy now, like you get 100% off. Like, we're talking about realistic, compelling offers and how they break it down in one of the books. It's super interesting. So I would definitely encourage someone to look into those 4 things.
Have you started applying anything from either of the books?
Yeah. So we're actually mapping it out right now. The first one I mentioned, talking about the law of contrast. And well, the other piece I didn't mention is we talked about this previously, but it's mentioned in one of the books, how we make the mistake. And I see this in the laundry industry a lot. how in security too. Now that I think about it, we make this mistake of pricing our product or service. Our pricing is linked directly to the product or the service, when we should be linking our price to the value and the experience that we deliver to our client. So in the laundry industry, I see it's just like race to the bottom in some areas where self-service laundromats, like they look at dry cleaning too. Like they'll look in the neighborhood to see how much they charge for a shirt, or how much they charge for a double loader, or how much they charge for a giant machine. And then they'll price their machine, 50 cents less or a quarter, just whatever they feel is enough to draw. And I can't remember who said it, but it's this saying that says, like, any fool can market the second lowest price. Anybody can do that. Like, just to put up something to say my price is lower than the next person. But what's really genius is selling a premium high price product and marketing to people. Like, anybody can say, oh, like everybody else sells it for $5. I sell it for $2.75. And the guy below me sells it for $2.25, right? I'm the second lowest price. But the guy who's selling it for $5, who's at the top, or gal, it's a premium quality experience. You get value, et cetera, et cetera. Like, we're super price sensitive at times. And people I don't think we realize in business, we end up making pricing a thing, when a lot of times to the consumer, pricing is not it's not the first thing they're thinking about when they're purchasing this product or service. And in some areas, in some venues, I get it, but we're talking about, just as the whole, in the entirety. I think us in the business, we're so conscious of what is our competitor charging, or potential competitor, or what's it. Granted, the market will only bear so much. Like, you can't get stupid. Like, if the market says something is $6 and you're trying to charge $600, unless like you and you might be able to get away with $600. Let's let it even say that, depending on what you're doing with that product and how you market it and the type of service that comes along with it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You probably could charge $600 and not even sell it for $600, where somebody else is selling it for $60 or what have you. So, yeah.
Okay, great.
So your books.
So my books. I'm currently reading Ursula Burns' memoir. Ursula Burns, if you don't know, she was the first Black woman CEO of a Fortune 500 company. She formerly ran Xerox, and she's one of my sheroes. She's one of my mentors in my head. And the reason
you actually met her, though.
I mean, I have met her, but it's not like we go to tea and we go shopping on a regular.
Right. I know some people that say they have these mentors and they're in their head and they've never, ever met them.
But one of the reasons why I wanted to get her.
You spent time with her, not even just met her. Yeah. I take it back.
I have a tremendous respect for her, all that she's accomplished business-wise, but she's just a down-to-earth good person. She grew up in the same neighborhood as my childhood best friend. And one of my other mentors, some people say is in my head, but we also have met, is Mr. Warren Buffett. And Mr. Buffett, the last time that we were talking, he said, growing up, I used to read a lot, and I realized that I could learn from other people, and I didn't necessarily have to meet them, but I could read about them in books, and then I would know about them. And so I don't always have access to Ms. Burns. She's extremely busy.
Isn't she kind of retired now?
So she did retire. She's still working, but she had moved abroad, and now I think she's back. Because she was like, I'm out after the election. She was like, I'm going to London. And so it's just nice to read her story in her own words, and see what I can relate to and how I can be a better leader based on some of the things that she did through her time at Xerox.
Awesome.
One of the other books that I'm currently reading is Success from Anywhere from Karen Mangia. Now, I received this book from our friends at Salesforce, where Karen works and she leads
Salesforce is not a sponsor of this episode.
Salesforce is not a sponsor.
But I wouldn't mind if they wanted to be one.
Salesforce is a sponsor of my having that book. And so she talks about success from anywhere, especially thinking about how more people are pivoting to work from home, working remotely. What does that mean when you lead yourself? What does that mean when you lead an organization? And her premise is that basically success starts from within. So if you need to make changes to adjust to life after the COVID spike or after the pandemic or after work from home, you need to do the self-work, and it's challenging. So she has these exercises, and as I'm going through them, I'm like, this is very painful, because she's talking
painful
about
what, for like self-reflection painful?
The self-reflection, and as a business leader, realizing that sometimes you can want the best, you can have these plans, but if everybody doesn't see your vision, isn't driven by the same thing that you're driven, people won't always perform how you need them to perform, so that the organization gets the results that you need to get.
Right.
So that's the second book. And then the third book that I'm currently rocking is Jim Kwik's Limitless. Upgrade your brain, learn anything faster, and unlock your exceptional life. And if you notice, in recent years, there's been a lot of talk about brain science.
Elasticity and all that.
And how can we optimize what's going on in the gray matter between our ears so that we get better results?
What they say, we only use like 10% of our brain?
Oh, he talks about that in
unless you're Espinoza, he uses like 15%. Next level stuff here. This guy's head is pulsating some days.
So if you get the book, and it's a lengthy book, Jim Kwik addresses that. But it's, to me, one of the things that's most interesting is he suffered a very traumatic brain injury as a child. And he was often labeled the boy with the broken brain. And so that led him to have eventually, because he struggled for several years. He had a hard time learning. And what he suggests in the book, I find to be accurate, that in schools and in systems, we aren't taught how to think.
No, you're taught to memorize and regurgitate. That's it. It's rote learning.
And one of the things we talk about often in business and outside of business is, it's challenged by a previous client that was like, oh, I want a guard who has critical thinking skills. He was like, oh, Leon is nice, but can you give me somebody with critical thinking skills? And
you know how hard that is? You got to pay extra.
But how do you look for critical thinking skills in a job interview? Especially,
I don't know. You give them maybe give them assessments. I don't know. And
time again, I encounter people and I'm like, oh no.
You critically think? That's gonna be my next.
Can you think? Period. I know that sounds terrible, but you probably understand what I'm talking about. And so, Jim gives a wealth of information on brain science. He gives lots of tips on how you can find different methods, different means and measures to improve the output of your brain, because you can't control anybody else's brain, but you can control your own.
So did he give you any tips on how I could supercharge or upgrade my brain? Oh, I need to tap into some other areas of it and find out what I could pull out of it. If I'm only using 10%, if that's what they say.
Stop saying that. He doesn't say that.
No, I'm just saying that's what, I don't know. What
that's what people say a whole lot of wrong
Right, somebody
stuff.
Put it out there. They said humans only use 10% of their brain. Like, obviously the rest of our brain is doing something, but I'm saying like conscious that we know of, that we're utilizing for whatever we do. Like, oh, move this, touch this book or whatever. It's only 10%. So I'm like, can I get another like 10, 15%? So I could be up to 25. Clearly, my brain is not working too good right now.
And that's something. And he talks about that
I can just only imagine like what else I'd be able to accomplish.
Your brain is working. It's just working, doing other things. So he talks about how do you increase focus? How do you improve your memory? How do you speed read? How do you take notes? How do you study? I want to
upgrade on that.
I'm like, wow, where was this book when I was in 6th grade?
Right, you wouldn't have read it in 6th grade. Let's be clear.
That's okay. I know what our 13-year-old niece is getting for her birthday.
She ain't reading this book either.
That's all right. She's gonna have it.
I had to
She's
think
gonna
for a
have
minute.
it
Like,
even if
which
she
one?
doesn't read it.
Yeah. One of them might read it though.
So I mean, it's really eye-opening to listen to the information that Jim Quick shares in this book, and I think that it's already making me a better person in terms of how I use my brain. And I encourage you, as our Commerce and Chill viewers and listeners, to cop the book, listen for 15 to 25 minutes, break down the information, find at least one nugget that you can apply and put it into practice for yourself or for your business. Chief, what else do you have to add about the books that are currently in the Commerce and Chill library rotation?
I don't know. I'm just like, listen, just grab something, start reading, start listening. It doesn't have to be anything particular. Just get into the habit. Like every time I get in the car, I'm like automatically phone connects to Bluetooth and the book starts playing. And if anything else kicks in like music, I'll hurry up and switch it back to the book. Because it's a great opportunity just to download some information to your brain. And you mentioned it earlier. Listen, people, you can't meet everybody, right? There are people you want to know their stories. Listen, some of them are dead, so you can't meet them unless you got a time machine. If you do, hit me up. Just leave a comment below. Let me know where I can contact you because I like to borrow it for a few days. Got a few things I want to take care of in the future, in the past. But like they're gone. So if you can read an autobiography or hopefully, a biography that was put together well, you can read their story. You can learn something about them. And then you can see some of the things that other people have done who've like walked in your shoes or who've walked in, shoes that you want to walk in and learn from them. Like you can learn a lot from somebody else's story, Yeah, just start. Get a book.
So
listen to a book.
In closing for today's episode, I'd like
Put
to leave you
TikTok,
with a quote
Instagram, and Facebook,
from
LinkedIn.
my mentor,
Pick up a book.
Warren Edward Buffett, American business magnate,
Reading is fundamental.
investor,
Reading Rainbow,
and philanthropist,
What did
who is
Buffett say?
currently the chairman and CEO of Berkshire Hathaway. Read 500 pages
a day.
every day. That's how knowledge works. It builds up like
500
compound interest.
That's got to be a couple books. How many pages?
All
in this
of you
book?
can do it, but I guarantee not many of you will do it. See you next week.
God willing.
This
How about that?
has been Commerce and Chill. I am Jessica Johnson Coe.
I'm Waleed.
Thanks for viewing. Thanks for listening. Hope to see you soon.
Hold on. Before you go, I got to show you something. I forgot it. So, on a previous episode, we had
Ruben Lindo.
Ruben Lindo on. Already cut it.
Okay.
Ruben Lindo was on from
Blackmar Farms.
and
Phoenix Nutraceuticals.
Herbn
Herbn Couture.
Couture, sorry. And he was rocking this sweatshirt on the show, and he sent us. So Ruben, thank you.
Oh, man. I got my own.
Let me make sure I don't have your small.
Urban Couture gear. Got to get the merch. So this is significant because we are quick to wear other people's brands,
But not our own.
Let's support one of our own, because I know everybody out there would that.
And this is the brand he said that's going to be like fashion.
The luxury
fashion
cannabis lifestyle brand.
Right. Herbn
Couture.
So yeah.
For the distinguished cannabis connoisseur. So, if you haven't already
I'm not a
done
cannabis
so,
connoisseur, but
I love
gonna
I love
rock
my
the-
people.
I'm going to
I
rock
love
the
my
hoodie.
people, and Ruben
Everybody in my neighborhood
is
think I get high now.
one of my peoples. And I also appreciate the time and insights he shared with us. And I also appreciate the merch. So if you catch me rocking my Urban Couture hoodie, don't
You know
hate.
where it came from.
Don't hate. You can own one too, if you pay for it.
Okay, I got nothing else to say. But yeah, thanks again, Ruben. Appreciate
Thank
it. It was a
you.
blast. I can't wait till we catch up when you come down. And COVID is a little less ravaging on the community. So yeah, thanks again. It was a pleasure.
And thank you all for tuning in. Don't forget, if you missed anything during the Ruben Lindo episode, go back, watch it again, share it with a friend. Or if you liked anything we talked about today, you know you're always welcome back to Commerce and Chill. And shout out to BronxNet, shout out to Brick, and shout out to all your favorite podcast platforms where you can find Commerce and Chill, because we shall be back again next week. See you soon.
Bye.